to the Sports Pavilion for the November 6th meeting. It's now 9 o'clock, and we're going to call this meeting to order. If you can, please stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we do have quorum. We're not too sure what happened to Bob. He'll probably come, though. He thinks the meeting sometimes starts at 9:30. Anyway, we do have one person online, Carol Card, and Gloria will not be here, but we do have quorum. I will read the meeting procedures. This is read at every meeting that the governing board holds. The governing board and its committees conduct all of their meetings in compliance with the Arizona Plan Community Association open meeting laws per ARS 33-1804, and in concert with the RCSCW bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures, as outlined in most recent edition of Robert's Rule of Order, will also be followed in all meetings as appropriate, consistent with bylaws 3.07, procedures for owner-member meetings, and standing rules number 2 and 3. This was adopted by the governing board on January 23rd, 2025. Okay, now on to 2.01, approval of minutes for October 9th. Any addition, deletions? All good? Okay, then we can file those as written. Okay, now 3.01, we have Gary, and he's going to give us the pavilion manager. Look at how smiley he is. Report.
Once you see these numbers, you're going to see why I'm smiling so much. We had probably a record October. We had 34,000 games bowled in October alone. We are up 6% from last year, and our overall is up about 17% as games bowled this year versus last. So all trending in the right direction. We've been extremely busy. We have more leagues coming on. We've done some additions. We've moved some times around to make room for more leagues. We've opened up a time slot for Mr. Bauer's charter club of his Saturday night bowling club, where he was one shift and now he's two. He actually had a record amount of bowlers at his last session. He had 206 bowlers, which is normally about 150 with a waiting list. So what we've done is we've eliminated the waiting list, and it is resident-only bowling, so our Saturday nights are nothing but residents. We are going to increase the golden rollers next year because we have 120 or 112 right now, and we've left 2 lanes open, just in case a resident would want to come in and practice in the evening on Saturday, which no one has yet so far, so they're still there. Next year, if we don't have any activity with open play, we will use all 30 lanes for the golden rollers, and that will give us 120 players. It has been a great success. We're very excited, and we are continuing on until the end of March. We will then stop and not run a summer session. We will wait and do the new pin setters, and then we will start up again in September. So that's just been an amazing, amazing situation. I am so pleased the way the residents have taken on that in their bowling, and they're loving it. It's so darn exciting, you know. So we have some other things that I would like to discuss with you. First of all, we have Gary's Turkey Shoot, which is always a big prize. This is our 2nd annual, and we have 120 availability spots. We are right now at 100, and that is November 28th at 11 o'clock, and I have spared no expense on a trophy. The trophy was $14.99, and the shipping was $12.99. So it was, yeah, we spent a lot more money this year. So we have that going on. Our resident participation in our leagues. When I first started 15 months ago, we thought we were trending about 60% residents bowling in our community. We are up to a little bit over 70% of all of the leagues that we have. We are around 70% involvement for our members and residents. So very exciting. So we are about 30% non-residents. We have sold 930 of the non-resident cards at $40 a piece. So that's almost $40,000 in additional revenue for the non-residents. So all of those things are going very well. We have now we have a date for the billiard room carpeting. They will start that on the 10th of November. They will start moving tables and getting rid of the old carpet and then putting down the new. So November 10th is the day we are going to start. And I think the date that we will be completed is to be determined. I don't know that carpet's been done in 25 or 30 years. So what's scary is we're not sure what's under it. I think it's going to be okay, but we're not really sure yet. Just a general overview of Lizard Acres. The pub is doing quite exceptional. We don't have finances yet because October was the very first month, the middle of October we were open, so I don't have any financial numbers. I can only tell you that when I come in, and that's where we store all our empty kegs through the back pin setter door. Some days I leave and there's 4 empties, and then I come back the next morning and there's 12 or 14. So beer sales is very high. I can tell you that just from the kegs alone. I think a general overall view is everybody is very happy with how the pub has turned out, and Carl had a lot to do with that. It's an amazing place, and we're having a ball. This coming Friday, we are doing Scott Johnson. We are doing a one-person intro just to test sound system, and he was available, and we had talked about this 3 months ago, that we were going to give him a try. He's very popular with our residents, so he will be in on Friday from 5 to 8 this coming Friday. And it's out on Facebook and everywhere. We have it on our boards, so everybody know he's going to be there. So pretty exciting stuff is going on in the bowling center. The pub is being taken care of. The billiard room is being taken care of. And as you can see, bowling is amazing. So we are doing exceptionally well and very proud of how things are going.
Thank you. You're amazing. To raise the residents from 60% to 70%, that means that we do have bowlers out there. So that's always good, whether they're taking the new sport up, which is a possibility. But thank you so much for giving that effort. And thanks, Carl, for the pub. The pub looks awesome. This Friday will be the first band, so we're not going to be doing anything with Lizard Acres per se for resident and non-resident until we know how much we fill the room, how, that kind of thing. And that probably won't happen until January. Gary and I discussed that because we need to go through November and December, and then if we have a lot of people that can't get in because they are residents, then we'll figure out what we're going to do in January, correct? Okay, any questions for Gary from the committee? Okay, any questions out in the audience for Gary? Any questions online? Okay, well, Cliff, how are you gonna, well, you can just do the financials and you know what it's gonna look like now. Thank you, Gary, so much.
Okay, so happy to present the basically first quarter of 2025-2026, which is July through September. Couple things to note is there's no Lizard Acres report in this report because Lizard Acres was closed for the month of September. But we'll be reporting that. We'll have basically a half a month worth of data from Sports Pavilion when we present the October findings at the next Sports Pavilion committee. Okay, so with that said, we'll get started. Okay, we've got, and that wasn't my fault on the budget for the shipping on the trophy was a lot less, so he had to balance the whole thing out, but he did a good job on that trophy. So the revenue for September were 42,000 favorable. You can see down in food and beverage, 11,000 unfavorable with the closure of the Sports Pavilion. I will say I took a little peek at October. We're still compiling the numbers, but for 2 weeks of October, we did very well in the Sports Pavilion. Now there's a little excitement there, so we'll see how things kind of shake out. But 42,000 overall favorable with those additional lines of bowling compared to prior year. 9,000 unfavorable on the expense side. We did expend some resources with internal labor to help facilitate and get the Lizard Acres completed with staff that we normally wouldn't have because we had to put tables together, do a bunch of things to get the room ready, and throughout the project, the Lizard Acres project. So we expended some resources that we didn't necessarily budget for in terms of labor to help move that project along. The ceiling grid, we did that. There was a couple of things in the billiards room as well. So, but all those things are going to pay off, and we'll make that up in revenue. As you could tell, we already have being 42,000 favorable for the year. Overall, 33,000 favorable to budget. And then if we compare it to prior year, we're tracking ahead of prior year, about the same, 38,000 on revenue. Looking at the lineage, 13,000 ahead through September. And you can see that it's a good mix because you got the league and the non-league bowling. And so it's a good mix. The non-league is going to be mostly all member resident bowling, the non-league stuff. And then the league bowling is going to be a mix, probably more of that, 70-30, 65-35% mix on that. So if you look at the revenue, you've got open bowling's up 30%, guest bowling's up 29%, promotional 97%, but overall 30% revenue increase in the lineage revenue. On the expense side, again, we talked about it. So expenses incurred. I mean, year over year, we have more expense anyway, just simply because of the wage increases and things like that. But 26,000 unfavorable to prior year. There's some investments we made in the billiards room and the Lizard Acres that we'd had to expend this year versus last year. But overall, even 12,000 favorable for the first 3 months compared to last year. Overall operating cash inflow, outflow. And that concludes my financial presentation for the bowling center.
Thank you, Cliff. Any questions from our committee? Any questions from the audience? Any questions online? Okay, very good. Thanks, Cliff. Looking forward to hearing the Lizard Acre. See, maybe we can outsell beer from golf. You can certainly add something.
I just want everybody to know that we are getting a substantial new equipment coming this year to the Sports Pavilion. We bought 2 new lane machines, and we bought 30 new pin setters. I just want everybody to know that we have, since our last meeting, or maybe not, but around that time, we have sold both of the old lane machines that we had in the past. We received $26,000, $20,000 for the newer model, and then $6,000 for the older one. So we covered $26,000 of that. And we just got a bill of sale today for the old pin setters. We are getting $66,000 for the old pin setters. Brunswick is actually taking them out. It is part of the deal. They will crate them, and they will get them on a truck, and they will get them shipped to New Hampshire, is where they're going. So we are recouping a little bit of the revenue back from the new ones. So we are getting $66,000 additionally from a source that is buying our old pin setters. So a very fair price for 20-year-old equipment. But so I just want everybody to know that, because sometimes we don't see those type of situations that go on, but we are always putting those situations up for sale. And our equipment is in pretty good shape as far as 20-year-old standards go. And it's exciting that someone would want to purchase them. rather than scrap. So we're excited.
I appreciate that, because a lot of times we just hear what we're spending, and we never hear what we have sold to recoup any of our money. So thank you so much. The other thing too, just a side note, I'm on properties, and when we went through the bowling alley properties, your mechanics back there are very excited to get rid of a lot of their extra stuff that they're gonna crate to go with the old pin setters. So,
And one other thing I want everyone to know about is when we changed over to the Golden Rollers League from the red pin, we actually added 60 residents and reduced 60 non-residents off of that Saturday night. That's how many, that was one of the biggest things when I first started, was one of the things that we're saying, we can't get into this, we're residents, we have non-residents. So now we have added 60 residents and reduced, now the whole league is just residents, there are no non-residents. So we've added 60 in the Golden Roller. So also, so anybody wants to know, we are focusing and working on getting more residents involved in our programs.
thank you. Okay, no questions, correct? Okay, so now we're gonna move on to new business, and we have 4.01. We have a new staff, capital improvement project manager. You wanna just come to the podium, and his name is Herschel Workman. Workman, nice last name, considering what you're gonna be doing. Take it away.
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. My name is Herschel Workman. I come to Sun City West from the town of Wickenburg, where for the last 7 years I've been the Public Works Director there. I was in charge of several departments: water, wastewater, streets, sanitation, parks, facilities, airports, cemetery. Yeah, don't let me forget about the cemetery. So I wore a lot of hats while I was in Wickenburg, and I accomplished a lot of CIP projects while I was there as well. Previous to that, I'd worked for the Federal Aviation Administration for 33 years, both in Chicago and Atlanta, until I moved out to Wickenburg in 2018. And I just want to say, yesterday, he's been giving me tours all week of all the facilities. I happened to go to the Sports Pavilion yesterday, and it's an impressive facility. We saw the bowling, the machines that they're going to be changing out, the billiards room where we're going to have a carpet project in there, and the pub. We spent some time in the pub, and it's an impressive facility. And I've been impressed with everything I've seen so far, and I'm looking forward to getting to work. So thank you.
Well, we look forward to having you.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. Okay, now moving on to 4.02, bowling policy reviews. I want to just make sure that everyone understands what we do here. Every year, we have to review our policies. This year, I assigned the policies to committee members. They have reviewed them. Last month, we decided, or not decided, but in our bylaws, it says senior non-resident. In a lot of our policies, it just said non-resident. So we changed that to senior non-resident, so our bylaws are consistent with our policies. So we'll do BO1 first, and I believe that is Harold? Norm.
Carol Card and I both reviewed policy 01B01, and there were no recommended changes other than the insertion of the word senior in front of non-resident in item 1.0, the general. And in 2.0 under authority, it adds in compliance with bylaw 4.18.17 and 4.18.19. And those are the only changes we recommended to that policy. And those were directed by the committee to put those in to be in compliance. Or in the same languages.
Right. And one of the reasons we are doing the bylaw is because one of them, I think it's 4.1817, says senior, non-resident, and then it says with the community, our surrounding communities. So we did a little research. Our surrounding communities have, there are 2 of them that's pretty close, that they can have 45 plus years of age living in their community. So that's what we have decided to do, because that's what our bylaw says, our surrounding communities. Just giving a background information. Okay, do we, how's the committee looking on that? All good? Okay, any audience? Okay, so what I will do after these policies, oh, we've got one coming up. Mr. Erno.
So the only comment I would have is I would caution the putting in actual specific bylaw numbers, because when you, if and when there's a change to a bylaw, that means you have to make sure that the ripple effect of other policies and such, that they line up properly, which means additional changes, which typically means additional attorney time. So what I would suggest is that if you want to have that line in there, which frankly is a bit circular, so I'm not sure it's even necessary, but if you felt it was necessary, then I would just take out the actual numbers and just say in compliance with the association bylaws.
That's a good idea, because then we don't have to keep doing it. What do you think, committee? Sherry?
Having been on the committee last year, and we went through these, same issue related to that very specific bylaw. And as we know, in accordance with changes in the whole, I guess, complex nature of the population of our community and how it will change over the years, I think if you get so specific in policies related to a specific area, Sports Pavilion, that you pigeonhole yourself to the point that is it necessary? And after last year, we concluded it was not necessary. So my thought is it necessary now? And as Steve just said, if you think it's necessary, put in compliance with association bylaws. It's more general and it keeps you within everybody's understanding. So we know we live in a senior community. That's a given. So do we have to get so onerous and so specific in policies related to a facility? I think we're just going overboard. That's just my opinion. So I don't necessarily agree that we need to do this.
I think Mr. Erno had a great point. I think we should just change that to in compliance with the association bylaws and not give the specific numbers, because we do, right now, the governing board is going through bylaws, and if they do change it, then we would have to change it. It could be a real circle problem. So, and we do, just a FYI, we do have some other policies that say the same thing, so we would just change that to in compliance with the association bylaws. Excuse me. How does everyone feel about that? Oh, I see nobody saying, oh, hold on.
I tend to like specific because the more nebulous you leave it, the more you leave it open to interpretation. I can go either way, but personally, I like the specificity.
Can I? We've been doing these policies for 3 years. We've been reviewing these policies for 3 years. I was on the committee for 2 of them while we were doing them. Now I am responsible for the policies, okay? I just want you to know from a manager standpoint in that office, these, the way they sit, absolutely work excellent. I have no issues ever with any of these policies in my office from anyone, ever. So as far as I'm concerned, the way the policies sit, my opinion as the manager who deals with this every single day, these policies work absolutely perfect just the way they are.
Harold.
My comment would be, being new to the committee, but my comment is, it sounds like looking at the numbers from the CFO and the number of games being bowled and everything being positive and up with the rules that we have, I'm not sure why you need to handcuff anybody to stop that improvement.
Okay, so we're gonna keep senior in there because that's what our bylaw says, senior non-resident as opposed to just resident, I think. So in compliance with the association bylaws, or do we just not want to do that? Harold? Norm?
I would ask Mr. Zarek, when you say the existing policy, do you mean as it was written last year or the recommended change with the language as
These
proposed?
policies have been the same for the last 3 years, without issue. So my personal opinion, I would leave these alone. That's
So
my
you
personal opinion,
recommend
the way they
just
are
deleting
stand
that
today.
red line?
Right, just leave them the way they are. The way they sit today is perfectly fine for my office, whether I'm in it or someone else in it. They're very explicit, they're very distinctive, they give us a little latitude, but I have no issues with any of them. We never run into any situations since last year, since we reviewed these.
Well, I reviewed one last year and recommended no changes.
Right,
I'm comfortable with that being taken out. I don't know how Carol would feel,
right,
but it was just put in there as a reference point
I understand.
as to why that language is there.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that as far as I'm concerned, the 5 policies, the way they sit currently are perfectly fine. And my opinion is we should just leave them the way they are. Don't add any language,
Not even senior?
not even senior. Everybody knows this is a senior community. Everybody knows you have to be over 45 to bowl in every league in this building. It's just the way it is. We have leagues who govern themselves. Jerry's in one of them, she's an officer, where you have to be over 50. That is a league decision, not a policy decision. Our policy decision says that anybody who bowls in a league in Johnson Lanes has to be a minimum of 45 years or over, with the exception of if a league has done something other than that. We have some leagues where we have voted in that you have to be 50. And that is passed by the league members of that league. That is not a Gary or a policy situation. The league decides this is the way we want it. We want our league to be over 50 years old. That's the entering age to get in, no one under 50. We have leagues that way. We also have leagues that if they don't have an age restriction, if they have no age at all, the policy is 45 and over. If you're not 45, you don't bowl at R.H. Johnson in the league. That's pretty simple, and that's the way every policy is.
Not even in open bowling, though. Yeah, I mean,
Open bowling is totally different.
right. Well, the main purpose we did this, because if people look at our policies right now, it just says non-resident. So if you're looking at a policy and it says non-resident, I know that we all know that it's a 55-plus community, and we all know it's 45-plus to bowl there, but non-resident, I guess I would like the word senior before that, just because then everyone knows it needs to be you need to be a senior at that age.
Well, we have seniors, we have non-seniors bowling, open bowling in our bowling center.
Right, but they have to be 45-plus.
No, they do not. That's league.
That's legal.
They do not. They do not have to be 45 to open bowl in our bowling center.
I want my grandchildren to be able to bowl here.
No.
Right.
Okay, but if you came, I'm understanding this. As a resident, you can have anyone bowl because they are your guest, okay? If a 20-year-old walks in off the street, they cannot bowl in our bowling alley because they have to be 45-plus to bowl.
They have to be with a 45.
Right, yes, if
Yes.
they just walk off the street by themselves,
No,
they can't.
but they
Right.
but they can bowl in our bowling center as a non-resident with someone who's over 45 years old.
Correct,
Yes.
yes,
Yes,
yes. So
that is
everyone,
absolutely true.
so even if, everyone if you're a resident, it doesn't matter what age you're bringing because you're a resident and they're a guest. But for open bowling, you have to have someone on that lane that is 45-plus or older to bowl. And that means that they could have 20-year-olds or 9-year-olds or whatever age that is. So that's the only reason I think that we should have senior in there, because that does make it in compliance with our bylaw, because our bylaw does say senior non-resident. Any thoughts? Okay, are you guys all good? Yeah. So any audience? Please put your name, and your rec card, and then state your name and rec card number, please.
I only have, this, Paul Kleckner, 128508. I agree with I personally would like to have the numbers in there, but I certainly would absolutely agree with the general manager that we at least identify that the authority comes from the bylaws. That seems reasonable to me. I understand, that numbers change, although very rarely does that ever happen. But again, I think his suggestion was the correct suggestion. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Kleckner that only because it makes it, again, if someone's reading this policy, then they know that they should go to the association bylaws for further explanation, correct? It drills it down a little bit. So can we have consensus that we will keep in 1.0 senior non-resident, and in 2.0 we will change that to in compliance with the association bylaws and take out the numbers? Sherry?
I agree with Gary, and I agree with some changes. And to me, Gary, if those additions, if you feel they would be harmful to your ability to help others understand those and not restrict you from fulfilling your duties as a manager of the Sports Pavilion, can you live with the change?
Senior non-resident bowling. Sports Pavilion and bowling, senior non-resident bowling. Bowling tournaments and bowling special events and bowling leagues, okay? We have no one under 45. Everyone is considered over 45 is considered a senior in our bowling center. So without senior being in there, just non-resident bowling, bowling tournaments and bowling special events and bowling leagues, you're over 45 years and old. I don't know that senior necessarily needs to be in there myself. That's just my opinion.
If I can just add, so it talks about, it says, you can remember the context what this is saying. See policies BO2, 3, 4, or 5 for rules specific to resident card holder, guest bowling, take out the senior change, non-resident bowling, etc. So what it's referring to is the policy. BO3 is titled non-resident bowling. So putting senior in there is not needed. In fact, it throws it off, frankly, because it's intended to be, it's talking about those policies, which again, the title of that policy BO3 is non-resident bowling, which in non-resident bowling defines that the 45-year-old age restriction. So honestly, my recommendation is there's no changes necessary in this policy based on these things that have been being brought forward. And by the very virtue of how we're structured, every policy has to be in compliance with the bylaws. So having that in there, I mean, you can have it, but it doesn't, they already are. They have to be. So.
Christine?
Thank you, Director Poniskowski. I'm Christine Novello, Governing Board Director, and I'm the President of the Governing Board. So I would basically going to say much of that by our governance, bylaws do supersede, so all our policies must be in compliance. If it makes this committee feel better to have that explicitly there, I do absolutely. One of the things that the Governing Board's talking about tomorrow is removing a lot of the direct references to policy numbers and bylaw numbers because of this numbering challenge. It is hard to keep everything in alignment. So whatever you decide there is up to you. If you keep that line in about the in-compliance, I do hope that you will and do recommend that you would remove the specific bylaw number references. I think that would be smoother. As for the rest, it's really up to this committee. But again, as the general manager just pointed out, the non-resident bowling line item in number 1.0 does refer to the title. In this case, it refers to the title of that policy. But again, I understand what you and Director Piaskowski as the leader are going for. You're trying to align policies with bylaws, for which I am grateful. But again, at this point, it's really up to this committee to decide by consensus whether it's important enough to add the word senior as a qualifier. I believe that's one of the key questions that you, Director Piaskowski, are looking for. So just wanted to add. Thanks.
Again, Paul Kleckner, 128-508. We're talking about being in compliance with the bylaws. The bylaws specifically state, determine in what manner and to what extent senior non-residents, Sun City West living in neighboring communities, may be extended association bowling privileges. It specifically says senior, not just non-resident. And if we want to comply with those, that's what we should have. Thank you.
Cliff?
Point just one thing out. The BO2 is referencing which policy, which type of bowler?
BO2's already been passed.
I know, but what is it? What does it reference? Oh, do we have it? Okay, what does BO3 reference?
Non-resident.
Non-resident bowling.
Non-resident bowling. BO4 references BO2's leagues, right?
BO2 is, yeah,
Leagues.
leagues. 2 was just,
2 was just open bowling.
Okay, open bowling. So these are all different bowler types, and the ages do range in those different policies. Now, most of them are 45 or older, but tournaments are not 45 or older. So you're saying that senior non-resident applies to a policy that allows for people under 45 to bowl in it because it's a special tournament. So you can't designate senior non-resident for that policy because that policy currently allows people under 45 to bowl in it. So that's why you just generalize it in this policy and you talk about non-resident, and then you have specific policies that address each one of those bowler types or bowling event types. So to put senior non-resident in there, you're automatically saying everybody's got to be 45 or older, where in tournaments you allow people under 45 to bowl in tournaments. So you can't put senior non-resident there. Yeah, you're creating a conflict by doing that.
okay, I can see that point.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got.
Any thought? Norm?
I would ask that you ask Carol her opinion, but having worked on this policy last year and not made any recommendation for changes, the reason these were put in here this year was to try to address the concerns that were raised at the committee at our previous meeting. And so I have no problem with drawing those recommended changes, provided Carol can give some input as well as to how she feels about that. Based on what Mr. Zarek is saying, the general manager, and a lot of other information we've got today, it doesn't seem to be an issue that these recommended changes would improve anything. So.
Carol?
Yes.
Do you have any thought process?
Excuse me. When Norm and I discussed this, my understanding was that this needed clarification, and the changes we recommended were to clarify. What I'm hearing today is that's not the case. If it is creating more conflict, which is what we're trying to get away from, then I would be fine with leaving it as it is.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from the committee?
Which policy are we talking about right
We're talking about the BO1. That's
now? Oh, we're still on that one? Oh.
right. And
You know, I think I want to retract everything I said before, and rereading and reading and reading and the discussion to this point. My recommendation is we just leave it alone and stop the bickering about something that seems so petty. I'm sorry.
okay, so Norm and Carol, we can you're going to correct me, Christine, if I'm wrong here. We're going to just take BO1 as written prior to the red line. Is that correct? Correct. Okay, so we're going to take senior and all the associations. So that really, you know what, we need to go back to all the policies, because what we did is we put senior non-resident in front of our non-resident. And so I'm going to just ask everyone to relook at their policies and take out that senior, because from my management team and from the committee, it sounds like once we put senior in there, it's a little bit more convoluted to, I was hoping to drill it down, and it looks like I'm making muddy water. Is that correct? Okay, so we're going to BO1, we can probably leave as not redlined, so I can pass that on to the committee, right, Carol?
Yes.
Okay. Can I do that, Christine? Okay, so now BO2's already been approved. BO3 is the same situation. We put senior in front of all non-residents, and if we are gonna not do it in policy number 1, we shouldn't be doing it in policy number 2. So policy number 2 was,
It's number 3.
or policy number 3, I'm sorry. Who had policy number 3? Let's see. Deb, what do you feel about policy number 3? That I agree. That we take out. Yes. So if we take out all the senior, all the redlining, and then take off the authorized compliance, then it will just stand as written. Not with the red line. We're going to take everything out. Is that correct? Any discussion? Go ahead. Audience discussion.
You know who I am.
I-
I have a disagreement with the 45-year age limit. I have some reasoning, just to go through it quickly. First, there's no government entity that identifies a senior as an individual under the age of 55. Unfortunately, there's no consistent number, but 55, 62, and 65 are considered the senior age group. Since Sun City West is a 55 age-restricted community, it seems only reasonable that that should be the baseline that relates to the Sun City West community. Second, the United States Bowling Congress provides the rules that standardize the guidance for virtually all bowling leagues and tournaments, whether sanctioned or not. USBC Rule 100B says there are 3 types of leagues: an adult league, which is 18 years and older, a youth league, which is 18 years and under, and a senior league, which is one in which all participants are 55 years of age and older. So they clearly believe that the senior is 55 years of age. Additionally, Arizona Traditions, the Grand, Sun City, Portobello, and Sun City West are all 55 age-restricted communities. The Grand, for example, shows that they have approximately 1% of their total population is between 45 and 55, and that their average age is 73. Additionally, in paragraphs 3.4 and 3.5, it states that you will allow senior non-residents to have guests. Nowhere in the Sun City West bylaws or any other official document can non-residents have guests. In the bylaws, it specifically says that only residents can have guests. I'd like you to consider that. Thank you.
I hear where you're saying that the communities around us are 55 plus, but they also allow 45-year-olds to live there. And our bylaw says with our surrounding areas. So we really can't move it to 55 because of that reason. Unless the bylaw gets changed, or unless for some reason they decide that they're going to leave 30-year-olds in there, then we would have to really look at it. But at this point, because our bylaw says surrounding areas, and they allow those people, they allow 45-year-old residents. So we have to comply with at least our bylaw. That's why we have 45 plus. That's why we don't have it under 45. And if you are a non-resident, you have to be 45 to bowl in that bowling alley. But if you are a resident, you can bring anyone of any age because you are an owner member. So I hear where you're coming from, but because of what our bylaw says, in compliance with our surrounding areas, we have to do the 45. Does that make sense? Oh, I'm sorry.
My comment is, I understand what Pete's saying about our community being 55 and over, but only one person in the household has to be over 55.
Right.
So we could have a 55 and a 30-year-old, and that 30-year-old would have a rec card and be allowed to participate in all the stuff in Sun City West. So putting a number on it, you can't exclude them. So.
Well, we can't exclude them to do open bowling, but they would be excluded in joining leagues because the league would have to have that rule that you could have 30.
Okay, so now you're going to a league rule.
Right, and that's not us.
And that's.
Not us.
So why are we trying to dictate to leagues what they can and can't do? That's a league rule. You're trying to put something here that says, here's a rule, but the league says, here's a different rule. And we want to make sure that they all go together to a certain extent, but you want to give the leagues the latitude to do what they want.
Right, so just in hypothetical, if we had 30-year-olds that lived here, and they wanted to join a league, okay? They wanted to create a league. I am pretty sure we would have to allow them to make a league because they are an owner member. Now, their league rules say you have to be 30 or over. Most of our league rules they specify that. So we're not going to get into what the leagues say because that's not what we want to do. Correct, Gary?
So USBC is not a good judgment for our bowling center, being 75% of our leagues are non-sanctioned. Okay. All the no-tap leagues are non-sanctioned. The majority of our leagues, we have maybe 25% of our leagues are sanctioned. There's other 75% are not. So it would be two different sets of rules for, now it doesn't say that non-sanctioned leagues don't have their own rules. They do, but they are not sanctioned by the governing board of USBC. They are sanctioned by themselves. So
their own bylaws.
They have their own policies. It's their own league. The USBC rule book has no barrier, nothing to do with them. They run their own leagues. So 75% of our leagues are non-sanctioned, just so everybody knows that.
Okay. We have Christine again at the podium.
I know, here I am again. So, Madam Chair, I just wanted to remind the committee and all of us that the chairperson, as you read at the start of the meeting, the chairperson entertains the comments and makes a decision. I believe that your chairperson has already made the decision and has ended this conversation. I'm not trying to, we all want to hear from each other, and I really applaud that. I think you all know, and Director Piaskowski knows directly, I encourage this kind of open communication. I just want to remind us all, the chairperson has made a ruling. She has made a decision. I believe you can move on from that decision whenever you're prepared to do so, Director Piaskowski.
Okay, so getting back to what Christine just said, 03, Carol, you're fine with, or Deb, you're fine with taking just.
Did
04,
but I'm fine with taking 03 as well.
Okay, so we're going to take '01, '03, and '04, wherever we're gonna just leave them as is, because we just inserted senior and then put 45 years of age, and that is already a policy. Gary?
Director, can I say one thing?
Yes.
In policy number 4, this is very distressing to me, in 1.0 general, the policy established the parameters by which bowling tournaments and special events, Saturday night red pin bowling, can we get that out of there and just put in golden rollers? Please?
Is there a reason to specify any tournament, any
Well,
group?
We're using an example.
What-
That would be an example. That's all.
They don't have Saturday Night Red Pin anymore. They have Golden Rollers, so he just wants to get that in there. Yeah, let's just not do any examples. How's that, Gary? Sorry. So, it's not gonna, yeah, because those are always gonna change, right? And like Mr. Erno just said, why confine ourselves to always having to look at it and redefine it? So, do I have to redline that? Okay, so in '04, we will redline 1.0 and we'll take out all the examples. And then it will just say may conduct in the sports pavilion under the authority of the sports pavilion manager. Maybe we should put Gary there. No, I'm just kidding. He's not leaving. You're here for life. So I will have Karen redirect that, so in our December, we can just, or do I have to come back? Do I have to come back? If we all say that that's good, can I just bring it to the board? Okay, so are we all in compliance with taking out Saturday Night Red Pin and the association, and then we'll just delete that? So there's no examples. Okay, so '04 is good. Now we're gonna go to '05. So just so we all understand, '01, '03, and '04 will be as written except for taking out our examples on '04, okay? Then '05, we did the same thing kind of. We put the authority in accordance with the bylaws, so we're gonna take that out. We'll remove that if that's okay with '05 people. Bob Bauer's not here. On that 3.0, we have senior non-resident 45 plus, so we'll remove that. So there's no change yet. And then the 4.0, we'll do the senior out of the title and the age 4.5. And then does Sherry or Bob want to explain what they added here? Bob will.
Be glad to. B05 deals with league bowling, and I agree we could take out the senior and bylaw references. However, under 4.0, this one refers to league participation, and I think it's important that we identify who's eligible to bowl in our leagues and under what circumstances. So our committee met 3 or 4 times to discuss this and try to work on language that would sort of fit with how the lanes are currently being governed in leagues that are run by the house. I sat with Gary and discussed it with him. And what we tried to do was align this language with how it's being administered in non-house leagues. And so just to read the paragraph, the R.H. Johnson Rec Center lanes are for the benefit and enjoyment of the Sun City West residents. Senior non-residents may participate in leagues, but shall never be granted priority over Sun City West residents with respect to joining leagues, unless the league has been wholly established for a specific group. For example, the Grand Bowling League has a league of bowlers that are from the Grand only. Any incumbent bowlers shall also be exempt from being removed from any leagues, excluding removal for disciplinary causes. Leagues may not adopt rules that would exclude Sun City West residents. Any league opening shall be filled by Sun City West residents on the league waiting list before any non-residents are included in the league.
Okay, so just so we all understand, where it says waiting list before any non-resident, we're gonna take out senior and we'll take out that age plus 45.
Yeah.
So we're,
Yeah.
okay. Any discussion with that, Gary?
I don't like it.
Okay, the
And
one.
May
go
I
ahead.
tell you why?
Sure.
Okay, when we have a league that is governed by the United States Bowling Commission, rules are voted on by league members. They are whatever the league members, the majority votes on. They can vote on average caps, they can vote on how much it costs, they can vote on officers, they can set their own policies and own rules. This makes it sound to me like the USBC that the league votes on, this is secondary to this, where I don't believe that's the case at all. A league has the right to govern the league, okay? If there's restrictions, or there's average caps, or there's anything that needs to happen, Sun City West resident or not, the way that the United States Bowling Commission looks at this is the leagues that are sanctioned by the USBC, those rules have priority over these rules. That's the way that this is set up. That's the way we run my office. That's the way we run every league. They are set up by, if it's a sanctioned league, they have their own rules. They are followed because the members of that league have voted for those rules. So no matter, we don't discuss disciplinary action. We don't in a league that's sanctioned by USBC, that league runs itself. We don't get involved in every single league out there. We have a league on Tuesday nights that you have to be 190 average or better. That is voted on by the league itself. If you're not in the league. That's just the way that it is. All of us is going to happen to us eventually. We're not going to be able to make that grade. It's just the way life is, and those are the rules that the league has voted on. It is a league vote. It is a majority of what the league has voted on. My office does not get involved in that, okay? We do not get ourselves involved in league matters unless it's a disciplinary action or something that would jeopardize another person's well-being. We stay out of these situations. We let the leagues govern themselves. So a lot of this is, to me, I've got to tell you, I don't like it. That's my opinion.
Any thoughts? Bob first.
Yeah, I'm not trying to have a back and forth here with Gary. However, that league's a prime example. You've got several people in that league currently that are falling below the league established minimum. And the paragraph written here does not preclude, it precludes people who can't meet the league minimums from joining the league. What we're talking about are residents who've bowled in the league for 10 years, been above the league minimum for those years, and perhaps because of injury, some physical thing caused them to be unable to maintain that average for a period of time. They've been kicked out of the league, and there are probably 4, 5, or 6 current bowlers in that league who are Sun City West residents who will be getting kicked out of that league in the coming year for specifically that reason. And I don't think that's fair, because that league has a tendency also to not go to the resident list of people waiting to get into the league. In almost every case I can think of, that particular league goes to outside bowlers, and they recruit the best bowler that they can find to raise their chances of winning. So while I understand Gary's point and why he doesn't like it, I don't think USBC, as he eloquently explained before, applies to any of our leagues in any regard. The USBC has nothing to do with this. This has to do with Sun City West protecting the rights of the people who are paying the rec fees here and the residents of this community and their desire to participate in any particular league, be it scratch or non-sanctioned, whatever, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so I'm understanding this. So someone's in a league and you have to have 190 average, and they have rules and regulations, correct? Policy, procedures, whatever. And you have 2 bowlers that fall underneath that 190 for the full league. It is the discretionary of the league, because it's in their rules, to say, I'm sorry, you have fallen underneath that. Now, whether that league says, if you fall under, we'll give you another chance for the next year, that's their rules and regulations, correct?
They've been given 2 years.
Okay, so with given 2 years, if you can't bring it up to their average for that league, I don't think we can say that they have to keep that resident. We can say to that league that, and I think Gary has already talked about it in prior meetings, that when there are openings, he does say that you need to take Stephen Erno. He's got an average of 195. He's on the waiting list, you know. Cliff has got an average of 210. He's on the waiting list. But am I correct that that league, do they have to get their roster approved?
No,
No.
they do not.
So when they have openings, they can just pull anyone, or do you encourage
They-
them to look at the resident bowlers?
We have a rule in the league presently, I believe it's been voted out, I'm not 100% sure, that said Sun City West residents have priority, but they must meet the criteria of the 190 and over. If they
Right.
don't, then they don't qualify for the league, unless somebody wants to pick them up. And it is the one competitive league that we have, and it was my predecessor's league that he wanted it to be the best senior league in the valley. That was his vision and that was his goal. And so 190 was always the minimum, whether it was wrote in a rule, a policy, or anything. That was always the understanding when I walked in. If you don't average 190, you don't bowl in that league. We have other opportunities for you to compete in. That was just the rule. It's a rule that's in the rule, voted by the members, passed by the majority of the members. That's just the way it is. This has got nothing to do with the USBC rule for that league. This is something totally different. This has got nothing to do with that. As far as I know, we always look at residents first for our priorities. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. Sometimes there's other criteria. Sometimes we have an average cap where you have to have 3 averages that meet a certain criteria. Well, if there's no resident that fits into that criteria, you may have to go out. The league is 50% residents, 50% non-residents. It's been that way for a long, long time.
So are we just, on this 4.0, are we just talking about that one league? Because we can't make a policy on just one league.
Absolutely not about one league. Does
Okay.
not reference a specific league. There are other leagues that have had issues. There's a non-sanctioned league on Friday mornings that have not in the past, I don't know about this year, but in the past, not gone to the resident list. Teams have brought in outside bowlers. It's a fact. Not something that we're going to sit here and say didn't happen, because it did. And I could name the names if that would help.
Director, we don't control those leagues. We don't control those leagues. Those leagues run by themselves.
Gary, I understand we don't control those leagues. What I'm saying is we need language that mandates that those leagues give people who are paying their Sun City West rec fees first priority to join the league.
Okay. Okay, but that is league rules, and we do not get into league rules, correct?
So why couldn't a league then say, I want to have bowlers that are 30 years old eligible
Because they
for
don't,
our
they
league?
have to be 45 plus to bowl here,
Okay, and
or a owner member.
and what this language is saying, in the same regard, you have to go to our list and allow residents first priority. Doesn't say anything about Tuesday night league or Friday morning league or Saturday night rollers. This community is based on residents who pay rec fees, and all other non-residents are guests and privileged to be able to join our leagues and participate.
Okay, Cliff, you had a,
I'm going to ask a couple of questions just to try to maybe flush out, get some clarity. The first question would be, is if the same rules were in place and we were running this league, Gary, would those people be kicked out of the league if they didn't meet the qualifications, even if we were running it?
Yes,
Okay, so the league rules supersede.
yes.
Okay, so that's one. My second question is, you currently have bowlers that have come to you that are residents that cannot get in the league that they want to get in. Okay.
Yes, we do.
And is it because they don't qualify, or is it because someone was picked ahead of them that wasn't a member?
We could have residents, we could have non-residents bowling in a league, and we have a resident waiting list, which is always our first priority. When there's an available spot, we offer it to a Sun City West resident first. If it's a league we control, which we always do. We do not kick people out of leagues to put Sun City West residents in. It has never been anything that I've ever been, there's nothing anywhere that says we should do that. We don't do that. But if openings come up where someone gets sick, we are in a community where people decide they don't want to bowl. We have a resident list for every league that we run, and we try to insert our residents into those places if there's an available opportunity.
And you're speaking in reference to the leagues we run, or
Yes.
all leagues?
Our leagues, the leagues we run, our house leagues.
Okay, so if there is a league that we do not run,
We leave it up to
okay,
their
and
officers.
there's a non-resident who leaves, who's not an incumbent, who leaves, it's up to the league to fill that position, and we don't get involved.
Unless they don't have anyone, and then they come to us and we try to put a resident in place.
Thanks.
I am an officer of 2 USBC leagues, sanctioned leagues, and actually, I'm an officer for all 3. Our leagues, the USBC regulated leagues that we pay a sanction fee. It addresses some of the things that Pete has referenced before. We set our own age limit, and I am on a league that 50 years on the Wednesday night league I bowl on. You have to be a minimum of 50. The other, it's 45 because there's no language specific to that. We have the sign-up books for the summer, in the summer, that everybody can sign up, non-residents and residents. The difficulty comes when league teams are established in the beginning. If there's 3 residents on a team, established team, and they need another bowler, we always look for residents first. It's not written in our rules, but it's what our secretary always tries to do, is have a resident get priority. Now, as we know, during the course of the year, people get sick, they move, they die, a lot of things happen. And at that time, it's whoever's out there that we can get. And we always take priority for the resident first, but as a league that is not run by the house, we establish and try to do the best we can to get residents. But for example, we had a non-resident team established, and they wanted to come into one of the leagues, and the resident team was given priority, and that non-resident group didn't get in. These Monday, Wednesday, Friday leagues are difficult to get into, And we do the best we can to make sure that the residents take priority. If it's an established team, they're not kicked off the next year. So hopefully that answers that.
Well, I happen to agree with Bob. I think that we're backwards. A league should be allowed to bowl at our discretion because it's our place. We're the residents. If that's not the case, then why do we have 45 in there? Why can't a league just go ahead and make any age limit they want? I mean, it doesn't make sense. If you say it applies, that you're going to enforce the 45 rule because it's in our policies, then what Bob is trying to put forth is fairness, and we should do the same.
Harold.
One thing I'm trying to figure out is, we're talking about residents and non-residents, but this line item here specifically says non-resident league participation. So why are we talking about residents being able to bowl in a league or not in this paragraph here?
We're talking about residents because the paragraph addresses non-resident league participation. The leagues, I would imagine, when the city was founded, were all resident leagues. We established a bowling center. We had resident bowling, and in order to maximize revenue and expand the leagues and fill the center, we decided that non-resident participation could enhance not only the quality of the leagues, but also the revenue for the community. I think non-residents being allowed to bowl is very important. I think we don't want to tell all of our non-residents that you're no longer welcome to bowl in Sun City West. Gary has raised the non-resident fee, and some non-residents are a little disgruntled about that this year. However, I don't know of any non-residents who have not chosen to stay with us. The big difference is how much do the non-residents pay to participate in this community versus the resident homeowners that have to pay $600 a year recreation fee. And all of the recreation facilities here, be it pools, be it golf courses, be it bowling alleys, ought to be for the residents, and anybody else who wants to come in and avail themselves to our facilities, so long as we're taking care of our residents first, they should be allowed. But we should not have any situations where residents are excluded, and that's what's happening.
Okay, well, I do find when it says any incumbent bowler shall be exempt from being removed from any league, excluding for disciplinary, I think maybe if we put a line after league, violation of the league rules. Because if they're in violation of the league rules, right, and the league rule is that you have to have 150 average, and that's in the league rules, that would allow them to say to our resident, I'm sorry, you no longer are available to be on this league because your average has gone down. Would that help this, Gary? Because right now we don't have anything in this policy that says anything about league rules, and it really is all about league rules, correct? Because if someone comes in and says to you, hey, we're going to do this league, da-da-da-da-da, and one of the leagues, you have to have 150 average or lower, and this person all of a sudden has 160 average, they're going to have to say to that bowler, hey, you're too good of a bowler, you have to move on, right? But we don't have that written in this policy. It's no violation of the league rules. Would that help that, Gary? Oh, Mr. Erno, help me here. Okay.
Thank you, Director. So first of all, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I would say that the leagues manage that themselves.
Right.
So I don't think it would hurt anything, but I don't know if it would help anything. It really isn't an issue for us at this point. I would say also that if you look at, if the desire of this committee is to move forward with something, I think it still needs to be reworked. If you look at the wording the way it is right now, it contradicts itself the way it is written. It talks about that the way that the leagues may not adopt rules that would exclude Sun City West residents, but yet we, in the previous line, talk about unless the league has been established a certain way. So I would just say that this probably needs to be reworked if there's even a desire to move forward with any kind of change. I think to Gary's point, operationally, we have no issues with this. And the leagues manage themselves the way that they manage themselves. I think when you put these things in where we make it our policy, now we become the police of the rules for leagues, which is a struggle in itself. So what we say when those issues come up is that's between you and your league officers, and you need to work through your league to resolve those things. What you then, by doing something like this, you do create us being the ones to have to manage that. And again, operationally, we don't have a problem currently, and I do think the unintended consequence could be creating a problem for us. So, thank you.
Thank you. We have someone at the podium.
I just want clarification though. Does a league have to, any league, do they have to follow our policies?
No.
No, so there's no, actually.
The only policy they have to follow is that they have to have 45 plus. That's the only policy.
And that's all we're adding, that's what Bob is trying to add now. Information that the leagues would have to follow. That's the whole point, that a league bowls at our discretion, the association's discretion. He's trying to set up something that is a little bit more in favor of the local residents. And from what I'm hearing, that doesn't seem to be something that the panel's interested in.
Well, I don't know if I can agree with that, only because Gary made the report today that he went from, 60% to 70% of resident bowlers, right? So, and I don't know how that works. I mean, I don't know if we're getting more resident bowlers in there because they have joined the leagues or they have put their name on the wait list or however that works. But we do know that they have to be 45 plus to bowl, and we do know that they have to be 45 plus to be in a league or create a league. Now, I don't think that we can, excuse me, tell a league, you have to take unless it's a house league, because house leagues fill Sun City West residents first. How many non-house leagues do we have, Gary? You know? And how many leagues do we have? And out of those non-leagues, house leagues, there must be a lot of residents on there. Okay. Okay, Christine?
At us all, right? When we're talking about policy, remember the governing board and committees, all the policies define what's important. How it's executed is up to our operations team. Those are the procedures. Sometimes we all get a little confused, so I just wanted to remind us. So what is important to this committee is to advocate for the residents, which is very clearly what this committee has been saying through its entire existence this year, if I may say. Advocating for the residents. Just wanted to point out what one of your members, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but thank you. But the title of the section is pertaining to non-resident league participation. So I applaud what you're trying to say. We all want to advocate for ourselves as owner residents. I'm not sure if this is the place for it. Just consider that as you rework. Remember that what we're endeavoring to do with all our policies is to define the what and not the how. And yes, I do applaud, and I just wanted to point out that this committee, through all of its interactions, is very clearly pro-resident and looking for ways to do that. So I hope that that's not misunderstood by the comments that you guys are making, nor my line, but thanks. I hope that helps.
Okay, well, it's 10:20 and I have a hard fast at 10:30 stop. So what we're gonna do is we are going to, I am going to take BO1, BO3, BO4 to the governing board and let them know that everything is as stands, except for that one red line. We're gonna take that line out, no boulders on, as an example, on BO4. BO5 is gonna have to be looked at again, okay? So not sure if we want to get a working group. I don't know if we really need to do that. We had Bob, and Sherry to look at BO5. Any thoughts on that? Yes, Norm?
I would just like to know if anybody here supports 4.0 as it's presented, and if you have another committee going over it, what's going to change? I mean, the whole impetus here has been to start to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G on who can be a non-resident league participant, and you have terms in here that I don't understand. What's an incumbent bowler mean? So anybody that's already a bowler is exempt from all of this? It just doesn't make sense the way it's written. And
An incumbent bowler would be a bowler who's already participating in a league. That would be an incumbent. So you cannot decide, use Pete as an example. Pete's a better bowler than me, so kick me out and put Pete in my place because he's a better bowler. If the league allows that, that would be wrong, especially if Pete's a non-resident and I'm a resident. That's not what the paragraph is about, however. The paragraph is about maintaining the status quo insofar as non-residents have been bowling in leagues. We shouldn't be kicking anybody out of a league, ever. They should, once they're in the league and they've been a member in good standing, paying their weekly dues, they should be able to stay in the league. This paragraph is, number one, intended to recognize the rights of Sun City West residents who are paying the rec fees, and number two, to establish some criteria on which openings are filled in the leagues.
But that was my point. If it's designed, it says non-resident league participation, and you just made a statement that it's there to benefit the residents of Sun City West. So what are you trying to accomplish here? That's what I'm not understanding. And you say incumbent bowlers are exempt from being removed. Well, how often does that happen? I mean, for what reasons? That seems to me like it would be up to the individual league to make that decision about who's going to be eligible to play in that league or not. It's not clear as to how this would benefit Sun City West residents.
What's not clear is, in my mind, that there is no language in any of our policies that recognizes that the rec center is for the benefit of Sun City West residents, and they should have the priorities with regard to participation.
Well, because the original policy read, the Sports Pavilion manager may authorize non-resident participation in bowling leagues according to policy 03. Let's take a look at this one more time, because I think we're just spinning our wheels a little bit, and try to understand that this 4.0 is for non-residents league participation, okay? So whether Gary thinks it should be that we have some type of policy that says if you're not a non-house league. That's what we really have to put in there, right? Because we don't have control over house leagues. Over house leagues, we don't have control over non. So that would really have to be in this language more so, because we have control over the others. We don't have control over the non. So I think we need to relook at that, talk to Gary about it, see what we think can benefit more residents. But it doesn't sound like this right now, as it rewritten, is benefiting the residents, as Norm said. So, Bob.
The paragraph was written to address non-resident participation in league bowling. Okay, maybe it belongs in BO3, or at least some language similar to that, because BO3 is the non-resident bowling rules, and it establishes the parameters, and perhaps it belongs in BO3 rather than BO5. The point isn't, in my mind, which policy covers it. It's that we have a policy that says residents have priority.
Gary, how would that work? You have a non-house league, they lost a team, or they lost 2 bowlers. You said earlier that they really find their own bowlers.
They do. They come to us if they need to find a bowler, but other than that, the leagues run the leagues. The people in the leagues run themselves. We don't know who they pick. We don't get involved in those activities. The leagues govern the leagues with who they bring in. We do not get involved in anything but our own house leagues. Those are the ones. Now, we will also get involved, like I said before, if a league comes to us and says, hey, we have a spot and we don't have anyone, would you have anybody who could fill that place? Then we get involved. And at that point in time, it would be a Sun City West resident first, if there was one available.
Okay, and in this 4.0, the original said bowling league according to policy BO3. So we referenced this non-resident league participation back to BO3, which is non-resident bowling. So, you know, we can look at it to maybe put it in non-resident bowling, but at this point, I think we need to just leave it as what it says, because it goes back to BO3, non-resident bowling. Now, if we want to next year look at non-resident bowling and put something in there, but we don't control those leagues, guys. We don't control them, so we can't tell them what they can and cannot do. Cliff.
One point of context here, and we just need to be careful, because we've already identified this is not an issue or a problem.
Right.
Okay, 80% of our leagues are outside leagues. We make one change to the rules regarding them, they could really impact our revenue. From a revenue perspective, from a CFO perspective, we have to be careful. And we're talking about making this change when there's no problem right now, according to our operations team. So I just want to caution, when you take this and you start talking about it, think about what the impact could be when we're addressing a problem that doesn't exist. So just be careful, please, from a revenue perspective, just giving my perspective from a CFO perspective. Thanks.
Okay, we do have some comments online, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, Bob has one more comment, then we'll do the comments
To
online.
respond to what Cliff just said, using the Saturday night, whatever they call it, red pin or golden oldies or whatever, used to be a league where, just throw a number out, 50% of the participants were non-residents, or at least a significant number. The House, along with Bob Bauer, made a decision to make it 100% non-residents. The league became 100% residents. The league became so popular that not only did it expand by excluding the non-residents, they had to break it into 2 shifts. And if we want to skew numbers,
It's a club.
the club.
It's a club.
The club.
That's different than leagues.
I get it, but I'm just using it as an example that sometimes allowing residents to participate can increase your revenue versus decreasing it. Right now, we may be limiting some resident participation.
Okay, what do we have online?
We have comments from Mary Gaynet. Her number is 133113. We may not be able to interfere with league rules, but we should be able to establish what is required to have a league, which could be spelled out in more detail in favor of the owners. You probably have more residents bowling on leagues because Gary created a league for residents only and they filled it quickly. We need more of those. Do it like golf. All residents can join these leagues up to a certain date, then they open up to the non-residents.
Okay, I can make a comment on that in the sense that right now, Gary would never close a league or because you just can't say, oh, by the way, we're going to just close you and going to go to all residents. So as he gets a league that says, hey, we're dwindling and we're not going to be able to come back next year, then he could maybe include that and say, we're going to have a resident league only. But at this point, we can't just say, sorry, we don't want you here anymore, because they've been here for a while. That was her whole comment. Okay, so I think we should leave 4.0 with no redlining. And go back to the Sports Pavilion manager may authorize non-resident participation in bowling leagues according to policy B03. B03 is non-resident bowling. Okay, so that, and like Cliff just said, we don't have an issue with it. And I totally understand how we want to protect our residents. But as leagues leave or change, we can maybe direct that, but at this point, we don't have that option, right? And what Mary said is that the golf has priority. When we have a new league that's going to start, that could be, but at this point, we don't have any new leagues, correct, Gary? Would you, I mean?
We started a new league on Tuesdays, which it's not a all resident, but right now we are pretty full with what we have. If a league decided not to come back, we would certainly take a look at filling it with a resident only league. But we won't be eliminating any leagues. We will wait for them to back out on their own because it happens. It just, we're a very popular bowling center and
Wonder why.
people want to bowl here. And so right now, we're taking baby steps to try to get our residents more involved in what we're doing versus what it was in years gone by. So we're trying to take into account that residents are a priority, but right now we're not moving leagues out and replacing them with other people. But if opportunities happen, we certainly would take a hard look at that.
So I don't think that we are not moving in the right direction. I believe we are moving in the right direction with Gary. And I do believe that we have to look at our revenue that Cliff just said. Excuse me. So do we have a consensus as a committee to leave 4.0 how it was not the original, which is the Sports Pavilion manager may authorize non-resident participation? Do we have a consensus on leaving it? No, redlining it. Sherry? Debbie?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna leave. I'll go back to redline and let them know that we're gonna leave it as is. And maybe next year we can look and see how we're doing in participation for residents as opposed to non-residents. But I'll just tell you, our bowling alley is a huge, and Cliff will tell you, revenue for Sun City West. And so we can't just ignore our non-residents bowlers. Now, if more residents come in and they have a whole league and they can say that to Gary, hey, we have a league ready to go. So if Gary knows that, and if he has someone that wants to not come back, he knows where to go. Is that correct? Okay. Let's not turn that mic off. With that said, we're going to cover Lizard Acres non-resident cover charge discussion. So I kind of briefly said something earlier on it, that we have the first band this Friday. We will see how things go in November and December. We are all aware of non-residents coming in, and we did all just pay for that to get redone. So we will kind of see what Friday and trivia night too, right? Gets busy with non-residents. So we're gonna just have to kind of see how it goes for November and December. If we find a lot of residents that can't get in, then we will address that in January. Our thought process is that if the band starts at 5, Gary usually has someone at the door anyway. We would have residents, they can be there by 4:30. At 4:45, we would allow residents, non-residents to come in with a cover charge. That's our thought process. It's nothing etched in stone yet. And it can't be a guest fee, because if it's a $6 guest fee, then they have a facility, they can go anywhere. So it would be a cover charge of like $5. And we're gonna make it easy if we do a cover charge, because we don't need change. $5, $10, $20. But that's all up that's all up for discussion to see how we do in December and November and December with the bands. And do you know when trivia night's coming back?
Well, we're doing the floor in the pub, and I'm not sure when that's going to happen.
Oh, that's right.
So there's some imperfections that need to be taken care of, and then we're going to have to close the pub for about 3 days, and I'm not sure when that's going to happen. So I've kind of been holding off on booking things until we're confirmed with exactly when that process is going to be done. And then we'll start booking karaoke and trivia as we did in the past. Karaoke on Saturdays, every other Saturday, and trivia on every other Tuesday. But right now, I'm hoping that we can get solid in late November, early December, and start those 2 programs back up again.
Perfect. Any discussion for the committee? Any discussion in the audience? We do have somebody coming up to the mic.
Gary Bach, 135435. So up until January, are we gonna have somebody at the door checking to see whether they're resident or non-resident? You said, we'll check, how many non-residents are, if residents can't get in, but you could have all residents and still more residents. So how do we know?
We don't.
Whether there's a resident coming in or a non-resident, how will we know?
We don't. And I guess we don't really want to implement that until we see how packed it gets.
Well, I'm not saying implement, but I mean, as far as a study to decide, so we can get 100 people, and we'll say 100 residents, all residents come in, and I got another 20 residents wanting to get in.
Okay.
So then there would be no reason for a cover charge or anything, because it's all residents.
Correct.
But you could have 50 residents in and 50 non-residents, 20 more people wanting to get in, whether a resident, how do we know that we have 50
right, residents and non-residents?
My question was, are we going to have somebody at the door now just letting them in, but verifying whether a resident or non-resident?
Gary, how would that work for you? I mean, you have someone at the door anyway, right? We do have to advertise that, though. We will have to advertise that people need their rec cards to come in, because a lot of people,
Yeah, I don't think we're going to do that this week.
No,
it's
not
way
this
too
week,
quick.
or too quick.
We'll take a look at it. Once we start getting bands solidified that we're going to do, we will see how we're going to take care of resident, non-resident, and cards.
Okay,
But right this particular week today, like Friday,
no,
we're certainly not prepared. I'm just happy we can actually get a little music in there. But right now, we're still going to be waiting a little bit. So hopefully by when we start booking bands, there will be someone at the door, because not only are they checking cards, they're peeking in bags to see what presents might be in there. Sometimes someone will bring a couple occasional presents. Not very
Shooters?
often, but so we will be checking rec cards and getting head counts as to those whole situations. And frankly, they all need to be still worked out.
right.
I don't think we're anywhere in a position to give, what we're thinking of doing. I have some thoughts, but it would probably be great to get with the board and run those by them and see what their thoughts are. Because I
Yeah.
really want you guys involved in what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and so the other thing too is that we just, like, this Friday night band, it didn't even probably make e-news, correct? Yeah.
It definitely didn't. It's on Facebook and
So-
it's on our
So,
board.
we haven't really advertised it, so, and that's a possibility too, maybe we just, we're gonna just see how November, December goes, and then if we have a lot of residents, then we'll, look at it in January. Fair enough?
I just want you to know that I'm very aware of that conversation because I hear it quite often about residents versus non-residents. We are going to try to do something to make it easier for our residents. I'm just not sure what that might turn out to be quite yet, but I want you to know we are definitely working on it.
I just want to know if there was, how do we tell the difference between resident, non-resident?
Correct, and from what I can tell, because I did speak to Cliff before, a couple of months ago, he said last time we did this whole, resident, non-resident, there was maybe 10% of people that came in, which was not a lot. We are all under the assumption that it's loaded with non-resident people, and it might not be, but the only way we can really do that is by doing a little bit of a study. So, and that really won't take place until January. Okay. Let's see, now we're at the comments, 5.01. Committee comments. We're gonna go to Carol. Anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sherry? Debbie?
Nothing.
Norm? Harold? No? Bob?
I don't want to back up, but I'll make a comment. I think before we start imposing cover fees or any other, we'll call them guidelines to the Lizard Acre Pub, I think that we need to talk about a policy that can be posted on the door, if you will, so that it doesn't come as a surprise to everybody that we're going to be implementing something. Certainly it ought to, again, just like the bowling, it ought to be for the residents. However, if we're going to allow non-residents, then the non-residents should be able to understand what the criteria is. If the criteria is, if the place isn't full, you're welcome to come in, no cover charge, great. If the policy is, we're gonna charge a cover charge no matter what, okay. I tend to believe that you'll get a different number of non-residents depending on what group is playing. Some of them have larger followings and larger groups of people that come in that are non-residents. And if you start making too many monetary decisions on that, you may lose the band or you may lose their following, which could result in loss of revenue.
Good point. I like the idea of maybe like December 1st, we post something by the door and start talking about, just say, make sure you have a rec card on you when you come into the pub. Just because if we start doing in December, most people have their rec card on them, but some people don't. But we can talk about that with Gary. Okay, good thought process though. And I'm not too sure in Gary's contracts with the bands, but they're gonna be smaller bands too, so that's another thing to take into consideration, that he doesn't, maybe he has it in his contract that they can post that they're playing, but it's gonna be a private party. I don't know how that works. A lot of times, they'll post on Facebook, their page, and that's because then that's when we get a lot of groupies. So, but again, I don't know how that's working with your contracts. Okay, so next meeting, Sports Pavilion meeting, is gonna be December 11th. I thought maybe we could not meet in December, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And so I didn't ask for any comments from the audience. Okay, I see none and no comments online. Okay, so meeting will be adjourned at 10:45 and we'll see you December 11th. Thank you.